Hi, I'm M.
And my name is Bea.
And this is
Fangirls Anonymous. A quick warning, this podcast is not for kids.
We get into some pretty explicit stuff.
But if you're still with us and into that, welcome.
Hello, how's that going?
Really good. How are you, M? I have not been here in a while now. I missed out last time.
Yes, you did.
That was my own fault.
That's okay. You had life stuff to do. Yeah, it was really, really weird not having you there. Let's just put it that way. But luckily, let's hope that never happens again.
Yes. I will do my very best to not have real life things get in the way of this.
Yeah, because this is a real life thing, right?
This is obviously a priority, y'all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So today we're doing something fun. We're doing kind of a fandom exchange a little bit. It's going to be a different fandom exchange than normal. We're not having 3 fandom exchanges in a row this time because we do have a guest. We have our best podcast friend, Misssampo, with us today. Welcome to the podcast again.
That's a bold-faced lie. Last time I was here, I fell asleep.
Yeah, that's how we know we're best friends.
I totally forgot about
and
that.
I've been here all this time. Every episode you've heard between then and now, I've just been sleeping in the background. Don't worry about it.
I love that so much. I wish that was true. But yeah, welcome back. We are going to be talking about The Witcher a whole lot today. But before we do that, I just want to say we are still doing our Fic Club. If you want to be involved, go ahead and read Play It Again by Metisket and then send us whatever you want regarding that fic to our email. We would love to hear from you guys about that fic. It is hilarious and sad at the same time. Love a fic like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we also have a Patreon. If you want to support us monetarily, you can. You have the ability. But if you don't want to do that, you don't have to have the ability to do that either. Like, don't do it. It's okay, man. But we would really appreciate it if you did. If you like us enough to pay us, go ahead. But don't also if you don't want to.
You're really selling this.
I try not to sell.
This.
I don't want to be a seller. You know, that's just not who I am.
I'll do it. I'm part of the Patreon. It's beautiful. They give you cookies.
We do not actually give anybody cookies.
But we do give you, maybe I'll just run down what we do give you. We actually give you the episodes a day early before they get released. We give it to you on Fridays instead of Saturdays. And eventually, once we start getting more people on the Patreon, we will start doing AMAs every month. People can ask us whatever they want from us if they think we're interesting enough to ask questions. And then we also have, eventually we'll be doing shout outs, which is going to be fun. Let's just say, first shout out ever, Misssampo, thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon.
See, now you guys know the real reason I'm here. It's because I pay them to let me on.
Well, you were our first patron on Patreon, so we really, really appreciate that.
Aw. Well, those rewards sound great. They're kind of like cookies.
They're great. They're kind of cookies, but not. Maybe they'll be just as fulfilling? I don't know. We're talking about The Witcher today. It is an insane show, video game, book series.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like...
monolith, you might say.
Game of Thrones wishes kind of a situation.
It really does, especially where show quality is concerned.
Oh my god, it's so true.
Being a good adaptation.
Yeah.
You may sense some strong emotions in this audience here today.
Yep.
You're not imagining that.
I never watched the show. I was only a book reader, so I'm kind of cool.
Yeah, you're such a hipster.
I am.
I will say, though, that all 3 of us have different levels of understanding of this show. So that's why we're kind of considering it a fandom exchange today, because B, you know almost nothing, but you've read fic. I
know lots of things from reading fic, just not straight from the horse's mouth, as it were. Yeah. None of that. Completely skip that step.
I have watched the 2 seasons on Netflix, and I've read some fic. And Misssampo here there's a reason why we're having her on for this episode. It's because she knows a fuck ton about The Witcher.
It's nothing much. I've just, read many of the books and played all the games and watched all the show. Don't worry about it.
And read a ton of fic as well.
That too.
Yeah.
I'm just a casual Witcher fan. Don't worry about it. It's not embarrassing or anything.
I mean, at least you have good taste.
So if you have listened to the other Fandom Exchanges we have on this podcast, then you'll know that we have essentially 2 sections for every Fandom Exchange. The first is talking about the media that the fic is from, and then the last half is essentially just talking about fic. And with 3 people who have read fic from this fandom, we decided that we were just going to mix and match our favorite fics, and we have about 7, I think, and it's just going to be a lot of us talking about different types of fic, and that's going to be super fun. So yeah, let's just get into it. Let's get into it a little bit. So what do you give us just the layman's understanding of what the media is that we're talking about today?
So I've been elected to this post as the person who knows the least. So hopefully for those of you who are also ignorant, we're all going to get this together. So my understanding is that The Witcher is about a group of people who are called Witchers. It's both kind of profession and a species. They used to be human, they've been mutated, so we're going to leave that as a question mark. And these Witchers go out, and their primary purpose is to go hunt and kill monsters that threaten humanity. Unfortunately, due to the aforementioned mutations, they look kind of strange. Notably, most obviously, they have cat-like eyes, and this kind of makes other people in the world scared of them, and because of this, everybody in the entire world hates their guts and wants them dead. And so most of the Witcher franchise is centered on one Witcher, Geralt, who's a super special cupcake because he got extra mutated, which makes him extra scary to everybody. And his adventures in slaying monsters and being hated by literally everybody he's ever met, except for the people who fall in love with him. I mean, there's a whole lot more to it than that, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah, and if you meet anybody on the street, that's kind of what they'll know about The Witcher, if they aren't like Misssampo here, who is about to go into a really long diatribe, and I'm super excited. Please go on.
Okay. So, yes, that is essentially what the Witcher series is about. It's about Geralt being a blue-collar monster killer and going around and people yelling slurs at him, except for the fact that he always manages to get, like, mad tail wherever he goes. So,
well, he's extremely attractive.
Apparently, even though people are like, oh, you're so ugly and you need cat eyes. Granted, mostly a lot of men say that, so maybe it's jealousy.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, just before we get into this, though, I do want to say that I am weird. Okay, I'm gonna say
you're a weirdo.
Thank you. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. I don't belong here.
I mean, I've never seen you without that stupid hat. That's weird, right?
I don't know. Do you even know what my face looks like? Oh wait, I sent you a photo.
No, but I've seen the Riverdale memes.
Sure. Let's just say that I'm a weirdo and a creep, and I say Geralt and Jaskier, and you two are not going to be saying that. I might say Geralt as well, because that could start becoming part of my lexicon. But yeah, I'm gonna say it wrong for a lot of people, and I'm sorry. Okay, I don't mean to be this way, but it just has stuck in my mouth. It's just the way that it sounds to me and looks. Please, would you guys say what their actual names are?
Geralt of Rivia, and we are still saying it wrong because this entire series is Polish.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So you're supposed to say it in a Polish way. So, like, looking at the tags, not only is he Geralt of Rivia, it's Geralt z Rivii, which I'm saying it wrong. I'm saying it like it's like French. It's not. It's Polish. So we are already saying it wrong. So there are very few stones we can throw, even to a heathen who pronounces GIF like Jif, peanut butter.
No, it's GIF. It's absolutely GIF.
Yes, but it's the same principle when you mispronounce Jaskier and Geralt.
Which, yeah, just so we're dancing around that. Yeah. Im pronounces it as
Jaskier.
Jaskier, and we pronounce it as Yeskier. They're the same person.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sorry. If that's really confusing, I really apologize. I'm gonna I just can't say it the way, though, that Bea says it. I just can't. It's just not part of my brain.
I refuse to apologize because nothing possibly can be more confusing than my Hobbit episode, okay? If you got through my Hobbit episode and understood at least 5 of the dwarves and who they were, you can get this. It's fine.
Oh, man. Okay. Gotta love it. Anyway, tell us more about the books, Misssampo, please.
The books are old. The thing about the books is they started being written in 1986-ish. And the thing it's a bit shaky is because it started as a series of short stories, which were later compiled into 2 anthology series books. And then later, the author was like, oh, I think of a plot. I'm going to write a whole story. And then the book series started. So wondering where to start in the books is a little funky. And that's what you're going to learn about a lot of this, is a lot of this is funky. Because it's Polish, there's a lot of different books, there's a lot of different stories that kind of semi-contradict each other because they were written years apart. And then different mediums started getting a hold of each other. So you've got the books, and you've got the book canon. And then a game developer, CD Projekt Red, was like, games. We want to make video games of this. And they did. And that deviates from the canon. So you've got that going. And now there's a show. So you've got 3 different canons happening. So if you want to know what happens in The Witcher, you kind of have to ask, which one?
Yeah.
But the basic gist is exactly what Bea said. There is a man named Geralt. He says he's from Rivia. It's a town that we may not even see in the show. It's not even where he's really from. He just says
He's
that.
a liar.
He is a liar. He hunts monsters for money so he can feed his horse oats, and he loves his horse. He is a horse girl. That's the most important fact about Geralt is a horse girl. His horse's name is Roach, after a fish.
Yeah, not the bug.
No.
It's the little fish that's in a stream.
Yes. Not even that, but it's, in the actual translation, it's feminine and diminutive, so he's naming his horse Roachy.
Or
It's his little Roachy, his little fish.
Yeah, or to be less weird or evocative of Monster Factory, he's called his horse Fishy.
Yes. That's all you need to know about Geralt, is he's a very scary man that everyone hates except women who want to fuck him and his horse, whom he loves more than everyone else in his life except his daughter, who he has.
And he named his horse Fishy.
He did. That's the kind of monster hunter he is.
And people still think he's scary, okay?
Yeah, it's hilarious. So that's really all you need to know, is a horse girl named Geralt and his horse Fishy getting shenanigans. Monster-based shenanigans. He is! Look, you read the books, you're like, oh, 80% of this man's thought process is him talking to his horse, or thinking about talking to his horse.
Well, isn't the horse kind of the only constant companion he has?
Yes, except for not really, because as a monster hunter, sometimes his horse gets a dead, and also he doesn't age. Witchers age incredibly slowly, thanks to their mutations, so he outlives several horses. He names them all Roachy.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are named Fishy. And he prefers mares. Probably because they're calmer than stallions, but I think that's conjecture. I don't think that's canon, but... the plot. There is a plot in The Witcher. I know, it's not just Geralt and his horse girl adventures.
It's mostly Geralt and his horse girl adventures.
It is, but also sometimes there's a plot that happens.
Unfortunate.
I know. And the plot that happens is Geralt gets a surprise baby of destiny, and the baby of destiny is named Ciri, or Cirilla, or Zuriliel, or whatever, if you're an elf, because it's elvish. And she is mystical magical. She's either she or her son, the prophecy is weird, is going to end the world and make it anew. And so everyone either wants to kill her or marry her and make sure that they are the one in control of the destiny-having son. And Geralt stands in the back and goes, no! No! No!
I feel it is important to explain at this point. For, again, those of you who come in with no knowledge whatsoever, because this is a big plot point even in the show. when she means magical baby, she doesn't mean that either the baby got dropped off like the stork, or that it popped out of thin air, or that because this is fanfic, it was impreg. It's none of those things. There's a special fairy tale rule, which is it's called the law of surprise, and you invoke it when you want to be paid with just anything at all, and you tell the person who's trying to repay you, give me the first thing that you do, or the thing that you have which you do not know, which is based on a fairy tale thing where as a reward people would get the first thing you laid eyes on when you get home. It's just whatever it is. And so in this case, Geralt invoked that thinking he's going to get a title or a vineyard or a piece of cake, you know, something that somebody gave this person that was inconsequential, and then, oh no, actually it's a whole baby and it's yours now.
The child surprise is always kind of a fun concept in my opinion, especially when it's not about witches saying, yes, I'll do this for you if only get your firstborn child kind of a situation. I like it when it's not that.
Geralt doesn't want anyone's firstborn child. People keep giving them to him, and he's very upset about this fact. He's not father material, except he totally is.
Yeah, why do I love this kind of character?
It's the daddification of media.
Yes! Yes! Oh my god.
I did not come up with that. There's a whole video on YouTube about daddification. It's a thing. I haven't actually seen it. I'm a horrible person, but it's on my list. It's on my list, I swear.
Well, it'll also be on the list in the show notes, so let's just put it that way.
Excellent. Hopefully it's good.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, books. That's a lot. There are a lot.
There's so much. Honestly, read the wiki. If you're like, oh geez, I'm overwhelmed, don't be. Read the wiki. It's not that complicated. Geralt's a guy. He hunt monster. Magical shenanigans happen around him, and he tries his best to make sure that his adopted daughter is able to choose her own life and not have people trying to jerk her around like a puppet.
Okay, so we've talked about Geralt and Ciri. Who are two other people that are really important to the story?
Funny you ask. No, we talked about one other person. We talked about Roach, the most important character.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Geralt's
I'm
horse.
sorry. The most important horse in the whole world.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are two other people that are, like, kind of important. You may have heard of them. Yennefer of Vengerberg, the sorceress, and Jaskier, the bard and light of Geralt's life, even though he tries to deny it.
Just to let everybody know who's listening, we are Jaskier shippers.
I'm a multi-shipper, and I like the Witcher. I like the Witcher trinity of Yennefer, Jaskier, and Geralt.
Which doesn't... The ship name for that one is unpronounceable.
Yeah, which is why I call it
Yennefer or something.
Which is why I call it the Witcher Trinity, or Geralt has two hands.
I love that name. Yep. Okay. Geralt has two hands is the name of that trio. That's forever from now on. I love it so much.
I'm glad you sorted that out.
Sorry. I wasn't expecting to laugh this hard.
So I'm glad someone thinks I'm funny.
This is just because the portmanteau sounds like somebody sneezing.
I mean, it is Polish.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
sorry, anyone who's Polish.
So sorry to all the Polish people out there.
You're all wonderful. Katarina Zabrowska specifically, I owe you my life.
That is absolutely hilarious. Are you a Jaskier shipper, Bea?
I
know you're also a multi-shipper, but...
Yeah, I only actually think that I have two ships in the Witcher fandom that I will not ship.
Oh.
So...
Both are valid in not shipping. I know of them.
Please give it to us. What is it?
The only two that I will not ship is, and this one's going to be really freaking obvious as soon as I say it, it's Geralt Cirilla. There's the pedophilia aspect to it for a lot of it. There's the weird incest vibes, even though they're not actually strictly related.
When you have to say they're not strictly related, that's already 7 different red flags.
They're not actually brothers.
Yeah. So, yeah, not that one. And I do not care for Geralt Emir
va Emrys.
Thank you. See, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He is a character that has not been encountered in the show, and I don't know if he appears in the games.
Yes, he does.
He does? Okay. Fun fact about this franchise, is my understanding is the author drew heavily on just actual for realsies Poland and Polish history, in particular World War II. And one of the main plots that ends up happening with Geralt and Sherrell is there's this big empire from the south that is going and conquering everybody. And what little aspect of Polish history has to do with somebody coming from the south, fanatics specifically, led by a very charismatic person, conquering everybody in their path? Yeah, I already spoiled it. It's World War II. And
The Soviets? How could they? The Nazis.
Emir is...
Fantasy Hitler.
Yeah.
Oh, what a trope.
So I cannot, in my
Oh.
brain, separate he's fantasy Hitler from the character himself. So shipping him with the person I am supposed to understand and empathize with and my point of contact with story, Geralt, I can't. It is... Misssampo can go probably over more in depth a little bit of that history, but that's the only one that I'm like, nope, that's not for me. So other than that, yeah, in any other pairing I'm kind of down for.
I feel like you may know more about this show than I do. Or this piece of media than I do.
I'm pretty sure Bea only knows this much because I don't shut up about it, and we live in close enough contact that I can pounce and be like, let me tell you about Witcher.
Knowledge through osmosis.
Yes,
She says this as though I don't come to her with these questions.
That's
like,
true.
explain to me why.
That's true. I'm always happy to yammer, as anyone can tell if they listen to any episode I'm in.
Okay, so the books. Are we gonna go on to the games now, or have we been? Is there more to talk about the books? I'm sure there is, but
Oh yes, but a lot of it is honestly I would consider spoilers because we don't know how far the show's going to go, and presumably as far as they can. So
gotcha.
I think in terms of plot we're good, so we can probably just go on and talk about the characterization of Geralt's main squeezes, especially those in fic.
Oh yes,
Which are
yes.
Yen and Jaskier. Let's start with Yennefer actually, because Jaskier has a lot more stuff I need to explain about him.
Yes.
A little complicated little twink. Okay.
Oh,
He is. It's his
He
entire
is.
personality.
I love that
That
man.
and being stupid, but also very brilliant. I hate him. He's wonderful.
I
That's
love
why
him.
he ended up with Geralt.
That is why he ended up with Carol. Okay, we're not talking about him right now. We're talking about Yennefer,
Yes.
Queen herself.
Yes.
So, Yennefer is a sorceress. She doesn't age at all. She has purple eyes. She's very, very Mary Sue in that respect, but also if anyone calls her Mary Sue, I will find you and I will fight you to the death. I love Yennefer. She's great. She's very cool, very complicated female character. I love her. She's Ciri's mom. Not really, but adoptive mom. It's great. My heart. Oh, the emotions. And she and Geralt have issues, but their issues connect weirdly well. It's a bit of a problem because they both kind of have commitment issues, and so they just commitment issues around each other constantly.
And because they don't die quickly, they have literal decades to dance around each other.
Yep. Just constantly getting together and then having to break up for so many different reasons. It's ridiculous. And they're perfect for each other, which is why they can never stand to be around each other for more than like a few decades. But, you know, what are you going to do when you're immortal? Not have a healthy relationship? Come on. They got to work up to that.
It's probably important to note also that if Geralt's entire life is his horse, and then also monster hunting, and then also his daughter in some hierarchy depending on the situation, Yennefer is like, I'm going to be the coolest person in any given room. I am going to be sexier than all of you forever. And also I desperately want a kid. That's it. That's who she is in terms of desires.
Yes.
She gets a kid, obviously.
Yes. One sparrow. One small one. Yeah, that's basically Yennefer. She's better than all of you, and she knows it, and if anyone says otherwise, she will stab you, because boy oh boy does she have some self-esteem issues.
Yeah, she's
It's
a really
great.
interesting character in the show, and we'll get into that. But
Much kisses to her actress. She did.
she did
Genius.
great, yeah. So, Jaskier.
Oh, yes, Kier. Also known as Dandelion, also known as Dandelion, also known as Buttercup. So, why does this man have so many goddamn names? Good question, me. The thing is, in Polish, in the Polish version of the book, his name is Jaskier. Jaskier is not his real name. It is his bard name. It is his stage name. His real name is Julian. I love that for him. So there's a reason he changed it.
Oh, and just fun language lesson. Apparently the Polish diminutive of Julian is Julek, which sometimes you will encounter as well. So just to add an extra layer, he has a diminutive name. So yeah, his full name is Julian Alfred Pankratz, which
I'm amazed you can remember that better than
I
me.
hate his initials. I hate them.
Oh, God.
They're terrible, but
I don't think it's intentional. I think it's just meant to be a long, flowy name that he's like, I cannot have that to be my stage name.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, so Julian decided, okay, I need a stage name. In this book series I'm in, I'm a blonde man and also a fuckboy. So I'm going to name myself after a yellow flower, Jaskier, which is a buttercup. And that is a very normal male name in Polish. When they were being translated and moved over into an English-speaking audience, they were like, we can't name him Buttercup. That's too girly. And we can't just call him Jaskier. That'll confuse the audience. Because we're going
brought
off...
to you by the same publishing houses that were like, hey, children will never be able to read the Philosopher's Stone. We gotta change that.
Yeah, make it more alliterative. So, they decided to say, okay, what is a different yellow flower that is also manlier? And they went with dandelion. So, in the English version of the books, at least the ones I have, and in the games, he goes by dandelion. But also, somewhere, we lost the fact that Jaskier was a blonde, and so in the games, he is a brunette, with the worst facial hair ever. It's hilarious. And then the show happened, and we got our Lord and Savior Joey Beatty to play Jaskier. They brought back his Polish name, but he's still a brunette. And also, he doesn't have his hat. He has the stupidest hat in the book and in the game. It's a plum bonnet with a crane feather on it. They tried to put it in the show, but Joey Beatty could not stop laughing. And you know what? That's valid. But I still mourn the loss of that hat every day. Every day of my life, I miss that hat. It's so dumb. I love it.
Yeah, Joey Beatty is the best.
Oh,
But I didn't...
kisses for him.
I mean, I've always... On Tumblr, I've seen a lot of, like, Jaskier, like, fan art with him wearing a hat. And I'm like, where did this hat come from? Is this, like, fanon?
The hat came from the books, and
Yeah.
the hat came from the games. He has his plum bonnet. It's the world's worst hat, and I love it.
It's hilarious.
Again, I'm going to reiterate my complete ignorance in this subject, but I am electing to assume as of right now, this very minute, that the exclusive reason that Jaskier wears this stupid hat is not because he likes it, but because he knows it irritates Geralt a lot.
Yes. That is the most in-character thing that could ever happen. Now that we know the confusion of the Jaskier name, use it as you want. I mainly use it to carbon date what canon a fic is drawing from, or what time period the fic was written in, because if they say dandelion, you can go, oh, okay, they play the games or they read the book. Okay, got that. If they say Jaskier, then you go, oh, okay, they're a show watcher, or they're deep book fan.
Which, just in case you do end up on that strata of things, that Greskier does have an alternate ship name, which is Gerillion, which references the dandelion thing.
Yes.
So if you encounter that and you're like, wait, what is this? That's what it is.
It's just more Geralt and Jaskier, only with Jaskier's, his other name. It's back when he was the prince, you know? Call me the artist. Dandelion. It's basically them. Dandelion, Bard, bit of a fuckboy depending on, the series he's in, depending on who's writing him. That's another thing. A caveat for the book. It suffers from what I like to call written by a man syndrome. So sometimes you'll read it and you'll be like, oh boy, yeah, we really need to hear about this woman's nipples, didn't we?
Yeah.
And yeah.
I hate that.
So, fair warning, I do still like the book series, but it's the same emotion I have towards Jim Butcher's writing of like, oh boy, you really like to let people know that you're a man writing this, don't you?
There are a handful of problems when it comes to almost exclusively reading fic. And one of those problems is that I physically can't read stuff that is published, like out there in book form, that is usually I can't read men's writing anymore, because I just don't relate to it at all, and it is a completely different vibe, like I tried to
From anything written by a woman.
Yeah, exactly. And most fic is written by women, so it's just hard, you know. And if it's not, it's
Yeah.
usually not written by a straight white guy, you know. Like it's
Yep.
and the thing is, like, I tried to read a book about. I thought it was a really cool concept. It was the final girls from like horror movies getting together and like, you know, having a support group. And I thought that was
That
so
does sound
cool.
like it slaps.
Yeah, but it
But
was written by a white guy.
Men.
And I'm like, do you think you were the right person to write that book? I don't think you were, dude. Like, anyway, I just wanted to say that. I needed to put my 2 cents in there about that. Oh gosh.
Oh yeah. So that's honestly my disclaimer. If you want to get into this series, realize a lot of men do a lot of writing, and the show has a lot more women in there.
Yes.
So yeah, I actually kind of like the show writing better, even though if you were to put a gun to my head, I'd say I like the books the best. So take that for what you will when it comes to my advice about this series. Anyway, did we feel like we know the characters at least slightly better? I hope so,
I think
because
so.
I'm out of things to say.
We got a Geralt, we have a Roach, we have a Cirilla, a Yennefer, a Jaskier, and a bad guy who we don't care about, and I can't pronounce his name.
So many problems. We have so many problems. Geralt has 99 problems, and bitches are some of them. But mostly it's magic.
Oh my god.
Mostly it's destiny.
Should we talk about the schools of Witchers just in brief? Is that important enough?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Cool. Okay, so Witchers have colleges, and they have jerseys. They don't have jerseys, they have emblems. But
they have a class ring.
They do. They do have a class ring. This class ring is a medallion, which is either a circle, which has the thing stamped on it, or, if you're in the game, it's just a big chunky hunk of metal shaped like the animal head that is tied to the school you're based on.
It's a backup weapon.
It is a backup weapon. You watch that game and you're like, Jesus, do you use that as a morning star when you're out of weapons? Anyway, Geralt is of the School of the Wolf, hence why a nickname you will often see is he's called the White Wolf, because his mutations gave him a form of albinism, where it drained all the color from his skin and from his hair. So he's very striking looking, just deeply pale with pure white hair and these just piercing viper eyes, they're often called, or cat-like eyes with the slitted pupils. So you can see that that can be a fetish for some people and a major creep out for others. So you win some, you lose some.
What does that say about Jaskier?
It says that he's a freak, just like Yennefer. And just like most of the women in this series, because there are so many one-off ladies who are like, hi, I've always been into cat eyes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, anybody
who wouldn't?
There are so many people today in this world, current world, reality world, that would be into that too. Like,
I mean, I'm not even into sex, but if someone had cat eyes, you better bet I'd be like, hey, can I, like, get your Discord? I just want to talk to you in general.
If a guy
slaps.
If a guy had cat eyes and I got to know him after a couple months, yeah, I'd have sex with him. Anyway.
Yeah. With the lights on, though, so you can see those beautiful people.
I'm pretty sure canonically Geralt smells bad, which is something of a deal breaker.
Does he?
Oh.
Where is that said?
I'm pretty sure that he canonically smells like onions.
I think that's just because that's what he was eating.
I don't know. I that might be a deal breaker for me.
Okay, what canon is weird. That could be in canon in the games or the books, but that's definitely not canon in the show.
No, it was mentioned in the show because Jaskier is making a. Remember, it's when they first met.
What?
And he's going, "Oh, you smell of destiny and death."
Heartbreak and heroics.
Heartbreak and heroics, and Geralt just goes, "It's onion," because he was eating them. Because he does not make a lot of money in the witchering business.
Well, he doesn't smell like onions all the time, Bea. That's so weird.
Stop trying to kill our dreams.
No, I'm just being realistic here.
I mean, honestly, he smells like horses because he's a horse girl.
See, that's acceptable.
There we go.
That's acceptable.
There we go.
Okay, so now I've lost my train of thought. Thank you, Bea.
You're welcome.
You've ruined this. Now all I can think about is Geralt and his onion smell.
Schools.
Schools of Witchers, yes. So, Geralt is of the School of the Wolf. They're a very jack-of-all-trades, well-rounded kind of school, and they have a pack, of course they do, in Kaer Morhen. That's their house. It is a big old ruined castle. It's ruined because there was what is literally quoted in the book as a pogrom against witchers, run by sorcerers. Sorcerers are motherfuckers in this series. That's also another important note. Yennefer is possibly the only exception. Also, maybe Triss. Mm-hmm. Triss Marigold. She's also less of a motherfucker than all the other ones. Mostly. They're immortal. They have a lot of time to be assholes. Witcher schools. Oh my gosh. So, Kaer Morhen. Important witchers that will show up in Fix. Vesemir, the fencing teacher of the School of the Wolf, the last remaining old witcher of the Wolf School. Dad. He is Dad. Mm-hmm. Witcher Dad. And also series Witcher Grandpa. We all love Vesemir. Good boy. Next, Geralt's brothers. Eskel, Lambert. One of them's an asshole, one of them isn't. One of them, everyone wants to make fuck a member of the School of the Cat. The School of the Cat are assassins, basically. They're the chaotic neutral of the Witchers, where they ride around in a caravan and are like, yeah, we'll take a contract for anything. You need something dead? We can dead it. And so the School of the Wolf are like, oh, you're giving us witches a bad name. Definitely not because they're morally obligated to hate each other as cats and dogs, but, you know, you didn't hear it from me.
Just for clarification, this is not a mix and match thing. Lambert is a dick, and he's the one who is involved with the School of the Cat. Just Eskel is the other one.
Yes, Eskel is the goodest boy, and he has a goat.
He has a goat.
That's the most important things about Eskel. Also, Triss is kind of hot for him, so maybe that'll show up. It's just the most recent thing I was reading in the book, so it's fresh in my mind.
They killed him in the show, so no, it will not show up.
I need to watch season 2.
You haven't seen season 2?
Nope, but I have read a lot of the books, so I probably know more than what is happening, unless they're really deviating, which clearly they are. Eskel, the goodest boy, but if you miss Eskel, play the games, read the book. He's there. He's great. What a boy. What a man.
So I have a question here.
What is the question?
So I've heard it said that Eskel and Geralt, other than the color difference, actually look really similar. Is that a book canon thing?
Yes.
Or okay, I was like, or is this just the game used the same model for both of them thing?
Okay, no. It's actually said as Triss Marigold goes to Kaer Morhen to help tutor Ciri in magic, notes that, if it weren't for the coloring, you'd think they were blood brothers, like born of the same mother instead of just witchering brothers. Aww. And yeah, Eskel's slightly less of a grumpy asshole than Geralt, but he's still kind of a fuckboy. Witcherdom mutations, a common side effect is death or fuckboyism. It's just, you're gonna have to accept that.
You're either trying to kill something or you're trying to have sex, and
exactly
that's when you die.
Or you're grumping at your horse, because Geralt is the specialist of snowflakes.
Mm-hmm.
Grumpy horseman whom I love. Disgusting. Other Witcher schools? Really, those are the two main ones. School of the Viper, again, poison thing. They're known for their double daggers or their fangs. That shows up in the game. One of the main antagonists of the second game is a School of the Viper Witcher, and he's quite the murder man. School of the Bear, they're kind of all gone. They kind of all died. They're big and chonky. School of the Crane, that's a new one in the book canon. They are the pirate witchers. They're on the ships, and they're swashbucklers.
That is so Joey Beatty, it's unreal.
Cohen of the Griffin, he's in the book. He and Ciri are besties. It's so cute. Definitely ignore that big target painted on his forehead by being best friends with the small child. He's great. The Griffins, I don't know their deal. Their Griffin's deal is that they have Cohen, who's a very nice person in there. And the Manticore's deal is that they're the desert ones, I think. Mm-hmm. If you saw the show and you know Vea and Thea of the Bodyguards of Borsch of Three Jackdaws, where they come from, that's where the Manticores go.
Mm-hmm.
Zircania, yes, thank you. You say you're a novice, and yet you are so much better at remembering the things I tell you than I am.
I'm just here to regurgitate information I've been told by you.
Thank you. I need it. Clearly. Yeah, Witcher schools. They'll probably show up in a fix. Use them as you will. If you're curious, read some more wikis. That's usually what I do when I get bored.
Okay, so the show.
The show.
Came out in 2019? 19.
2019.
2019.
You're right. December of.
December of 2019.
Then the world ended.
Yes.
And then the world ended. And then the world stopped turning for a while. And it feels like it's slowly
And we were just
turning
left
back.
with pretty Henry Cavill. That's it. That's the world ended, and we were left with that as our last gift.
Grimy Henry Cavill and his twink.
He grimes up good. Let's just put it that way.
He grimes up so good.
Cleans up nice versus grimes up good. I think I'm always going to go for the grimes up good.
Oh yeah. Very delicious.
Oh my god. The show is interesting. It was my first introduction to the Witcher fandom thing, media as a whole.
Indoctrinated you into the cults of Geralt.
It really did. It really did. But that's where I got... Isn't it pronounced Jaskier in the show?
It's pronounced Jaskier.
How am I getting that?
The problem is there's a lot of different people with a lot of different accents.
Oh, okay.
So it could be that someone calls him something different.
Yeah.
I feel it is worth noting here that even canon sources don't tend to be terribly consistent internally with pronunciation, because if I was trying to figure out their religion, which is inconsequential to the plot for the most part, is revolving around a mother goddess, and I was trying to figure out how to frigging pronounce this name, and there is no good way to do it. The closest I got was Melitele.
Melitele. That's what the audiobook says. And yet, when Joey Beatty did a reading of the book, he didn't say it right, and it made me go, Joey, no! Oh god, Joey, no one's gonna say it right ever again!
So, there's no good way to pronounce some of these words, just FYI.
It's kind of what happens when you're trying to get a English-speaking audience to understand something that was made for a Polish-speaking audience, because English has a lot of languages it steals from. Polish, I don't think, is one that's super in there. Not like German. Certainly not like that. It's not as close a cousin to our language as others are. And we don't really have the background of this culture has been entrenched in our media and very popular for a while that Japanese does.
Yeah.
So it leads to confusion. Be nice. Treat all Polish fans with the honor you would give a true believer, because they've probably been in there a lot longer than you, because, yeah.
Yeah, it's been from the 80s. So right before my parents and I decided to sit down and watch the show, which was in February of 2020, and we needed something to not think about the stuff that was happening at that time in the world. Right before we sat down to watch it, I found a post on Tumblr that really helped me and my parents out for understanding some of the stuff that we needed to know when we were getting into the show, because the show is if you don't know anything about the show, you're going to be kind of confused, and you have to be okay with that confusion if you don't look up anything about the show. But luckily I found that post, and the main takeaway from that post that I had was that the people in the show are immortals, essentially, and the time jumps are happening because they actually aren't really talking to each other for 15 years. And once I told that to my parents were like, oh! And we enjoyed the show so much after that, because we could really understand what was happening. The show does not give you that information when you're watching it. It's crazy.
They expect you to pay attention and figure some stuff out.
Yeah.
But also, they don't exactly make it easy, because there's a pretty significant production snafu, which was admitted in an AMA by the creator of Jaskier doesn't appear to age, even though several other characters, you see Foltest as a child with his sister, and that's showing you, oh, this is pretty early, because later we see Foltest as an old man with Geralt, and we're like, oh, okay, timeline. But Jaskier was there when Geralt realized that he was about to be a dad via child surprise, and then later, several years later, when Ciri is a child born, existing, Jaskier hasn't changed. That is a snafu. That is a production snafu. They said they messed up on that, and yet that does not stop fans from being like, no, he's a fairy. No, he's immortal. No, he's actually a sorceress. He is an eldritch being of music. And honestly, good for you guys. Anyone who has a headcanon like that and you write that in your fic, I salute you and I love you.
He just operates on Calvin and Hobbes rules.
Yes.
Time doesn't actually exist for him. He exists exclusively within the panels of a 4-panel comic, and that's it.
That's it.
Time otherwise does not exist.
So in case you're wondering about that, You can think it's that Yeskir's immortal, but really, in a Doylist sense, it's an oopsie doopsie on their part.
Well, I really like the idea that everybody in the show, including humans,
Yes,
are immortal.
and that is valid.
I think that that's neat and fun, and you don't get to see that too often in media, in my opinion.
Very true. Especially since the Witcher world is our world.
Yeah.
That's the main point of the series. It's our world, but there was the conjunction of the spheres. Basically, realities overlapped and just dropped magic into our world.
That is fun. That's a
It
fun
is.
idea.
Weird.
And in that happening, everybody just suddenly became immortal. You get born, you grow up, and you stop aging at a certain time, and then
Until a monster eats you.
yeah, exactly. A monster has to eat you, somebody has to stab you, you have to, I don't know, something happens. But if nothing bad happens to you, then you just kind of live. And I think that's such a cool idea.
Alternate theory, Witchers are just like mildly magically radioactive, and the symptoms are you never age.
Yep. I want that.
Which is why he has Roach.
Oh.
The
Which is
one
why he
immortal
has Roach.
horse in the show.
The one immortal horse.
And Twink.
And our beautiful Twink.
Yes. I'm sorry, Joey Beatty, if you take affront to being called a twink. You can be a twunk if you wish,
Yes.
but Jaskier is a twink.
That's true. The character
sorry,
is
sir.
Joey Beatty's a twunk.
Yes.
So the show, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and see it. It's a really good way to kind of get yourself into the media itself. And if you really want to read the books and or play the video games, if you're into that, then you can. But the show is good enough for you kind of to know what to do when you are reading fic, what to know when you're reading
Yes.
fic. And maybe we should get into our fic a little bit.
Maybe we should on this podcast about fandom and fan fiction. Maybe a little.
I think we've set the scene sufficiently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
The scene is that it's a hot mess, and that is exactly what the canon is.
And we are kind of just a hot mess all the time anyway. So we've made some categories for fic, and this is just going to be kind of a mishmash of our favorite fic, all three of us. So, Bea, what is the most popular Witcher fic?
So if you take all of the Witcher fic under all the umbrellas, not just for one specific canon, and you sort them by kudos, on AO3, the first one you're going to get is called Wood Ash, Iron, and Leather by Effervescent, and it is a pretty good distillation of a lot of the tropes you're going to see repeatedly in the Witcher fandom. The story is Geralt is sort of grumpily allowing Jaskier to follow him around as per usual and gets into a dangerous situation, which Jaskier sort of helps with, sort of endangers himself in. It's a 50-50 split. And in so doing, Geralt, who... Witchers also have a great sense of smell, and this has been extrapolated to, they can sort of smell, like, some base...
Hormonal changes
Yeah,
in humans.
so
stuff like
base emotions, not complicated things, but, like, whether you're scared or not. And he realizes that every human he's ever met, except for Jaskier, has always smelled scared of him. And so he starts thinking about this, and he's like, wait a minute. And then he has a little light bulb go off and goes, wait, I think I might really like him. And then the story immediately switches point of view to Jaskier, who is like, look, everything is weird and not fine, and I don't know what I did wrong, because Geralt's acting really weird, of which there are many things that he is doing weirdly. But, most importantly, he won't stop smelling me. Which is hilarious, and it ends up exactly how you think it ends up, but yeah, you get...
porn.
Well, yeah. Tastefully in the last third.
Very... so tasteful. Most tender. 10 out of 10 boners.
I'm gonna have to read it now. I love a good tasteful porn.
Yeah, it's not very long, and I feel like if you read it and like it, then you're gonna like a lot of the tropes that float around in this fandom. It's pretty quintessential. There's a reason it's the first.
Yeah, especially post-show tropes. We'll probably get this later when I get into some my fics, but there is a split, kind of Cambrian explosion-esque when it comes to before the show and after the show.
Oh, yeah.
So, when you get to a certain point, you'll see it. But until that... Oh, wait. No. I'm a liar. It is my turn.
Yes.
It is your turn.
Best place to start.
The best place to start!
So, if you're like, oh man, Witcher fics, there's so many of them. How do I know which ones are good? What if I'm not interested in pure pornography right now? To which I say, you're in the wrong fandom. But
This fandom is so freaking horny, okay?
yes. I mean, so is the canon, so it's not like they're not following in the footsteps. But if you're going, where do I start for some good story stuff? You go to Ink Siren. And this is a very obscure title of the series, but if you can find it, it's really helpful. It's called I Tried Not to Get Into The Witcher, and look where that got me. It's genius. It's by Ink Siren, also known as Valmir. It is book game canon. And with that, there isn't a ton of Garaskier. A lot more Geralt Yennefer, and a character called Regis. He's in the books, he's in the games. All you need to really know about him is the man is a vampire doctor. And also, a bunny rabbit. I love him. Good boy.
It's important to note here, vampire lore in The Witcher is weird and complicated,
It
so
is.
don't come in with expectations.
Like
No.
literally everything else about this piece of media.
Yes.
Everything is weird and complicated.
Yes. To bounce back to the pre-show, if you were able to get into a time machine or use the filtering system on AO3 and check like the day before the show dropped, the most popular ship is Geralt and Yennefer, followed by Geralt and Emil Regis Raholik Terzif Joffrey, who is Regis, the Doctor Vampire, and then after that it's Geralt and Emir Viamorous, which I'm not in the favor of shaming people for their ships. It's fantasy, it's fiction, it's frankly none of my beeswax. It's just a big eyebrow raise for me and something I don't want to read. So, there's that. Don't be mean to people who ship things in general, and Emir and Geralt in specific. None your business. However, you go now and you do sorting. There's a bit of a difference between how many Garaskir fics there are. Pre-show, there were 34 Geralt and Jaskier fics. Now, there are 17,736. So there's a little bit more. If you want to start where the porn isn't, get into Valmir, read I Tried Not to Get Into The Witcher and Look Where That Got Me series. It's great. You'll get a lot of great story and little details about canon and Geralt and his character. And then if you're interested, go to other places and look at the fields, the lush orchards of Garaskier emotion porn and porn.
Mm-hmm.
With a nice healthy sprinkling of Yennefer in there too. A delicious paprika poof.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the one that needs more love. This is the one that needs more love in my opinion. It is called Tender Like a Soft New Sapling by Kathkin. And it's really adorable. I think the best way to describe it is this sentence from the fic. I have the misfortune to be bonded to someone who gets the shit kicked out of them on a very regular basis. And that could be about either of them.
That could be anybody in this damn show.
It is a Jaskier Geralt fic. Jaskier is soul bonded to Geralt, and Geralt is a Witcher. And the thing is, in this world, you feel the pain of your soul bond before you know their name or who they are or anything. So Jaskier's whole life has been just a bunch
Stab
of
wounds.
bullshit pain, and it's really good. Go ahead and read it. It's very nice. It's not that long, and it does have some hits, but of all of the fics that we have talked about and are going to talk about, this is the least hitted one. So I thought this would be good for the category of needs more love, because it does. I think it just needs more love. Also Kathkin is a really good author. So go and read Kathkin if you haven't.
Can confirm.
We should have Kathkin on as a from the writing desk if I can get them.
So the opposite of It Needs More Love is this one is so incredibly popular that it spawned its own subtrope inside of this fandom. And has so many wonderful complete offshoots that you should also read, but I'm just going to start you on the base one that kicked it all off, because it's also fantastic and worth reading, and the authors of the various fics that we're inspired by are actually really good about tagging, so that's a good place to go and try and find more of same. So this is the whole series is really it, but I'm going to rec specifically the first one, which is With a Conquering Air by Inexplicafix, and it's the Accidental Warlord and his pack series. The trope that it spawned is Warlord Geralt, and the idea is that Witchers have this sort of policy of non-intervention for the most part in human politics. They are there to hunt monsters. And what if Geralt has himself a long, hard think, and instead of coming to the conclusion that yes, he should really stay away from human politics, he comes to the conclusion that some of the worst monsters out there are humans. And as a monster hunter, it's his duty to go take care of them. And he accidentally conquers a kingdom, and then another kingdom, and then another kingdom on accident. The story, Inexplicafix story, is wonderful. It's from the point of view of Jaskier, who he is part of a kingdom that hasn't yet been conquered, but is now kind of frightened about this warlord who has conquered so much of the country. And they all scratch their heads and get together and decide what they're going to do is they're going to send Jaskier as a sacrifice for the warlord to do whatever he wants with, which, if you've ever heard about, like, what Genghis Khan does, yeah, they're thinking along those lines. They don't have a great opinion of the man. And so Jaskier ends up getting shipped there, terrified. And then it ends up being Geralt, who's like, what am I going to do with a bard? Like, what? I don't... And Jaskier goes, wait a minute, you're actually a nice human being. It's awesome. It's a very long series, so there's a lot to read if this strikes you as entertaining. And it is Jaskier. I wouldn't call it slow burn, but I wouldn't call it fast burn either. It's a nice middle ground.
It's a moderate oven, you know? Nice in the middle. You don't want to scald the milk. Geralt is a milk in this situation. He burns easy.
Yeah. Also, most of the time, I will freely admit, I get a huge kick out of Geralt being kind of a moron. Like, emotionally, but also sometimes just literally, he's a little bit stupid. Very clever, but kind of dumb.
Look, the man spec'd into wisdom. He needed that first class, okay?
Yes. In this one, he's actually decently competent, which is startling and refreshing. So, yeah, I would 100% recommend it. I have several others that are inspired by that I also really love, some of which are not finished. But this is a great place to start with that trope.
This can only be in this fandom. TM. And whenever I do this one, the angst party happens, because I just am in fandoms that love to hurt people. It is called When You Just Can't Seem to Shake the Weight of Living by Winged Quill. And oh my good golly gosh. I don't want to say too much about this because it's so good. Read it, bring a tissue or two. It will give you emotions. Summary. Witchers don't retire. They stay on the path until it kills them. They hunt monsters and they want nothing from life. This isn't exactly by choice. Magic bullshit is afoot, and it's keeping Geralt on the path. And it's terrifying in an existential way, and it's also not just Geralt and Jaskier. It's Geralt, Jaskier, and Yennefer, the holy trinity, in my humble opinion, of Witcherdom. The true ship of Geralt has two hands for both of his idiots, and himself, the third idiot. And it's painful and beautiful. It does end happily. I'll say that, in case you're worried.
This has the absolute softest Geralt in it, too, so
yes.
If you want him to be super soft and sweet, this is the one.
He's made of marshmallow fluff. And he's a horse girl. He's the horsiest girl there is. Most of his angst is about how he can't love his horse as much as he wants to. It's so good. Read it. It's the only thing in this fandom. This is pure Witcher-based angst. Nothing else could ever... No other fandom could get this specific type of wump. And this is wump. It's incredibly wumpy, with then a big soft hug and a mug of hot cocoa for you at the end.
The best AU, or the favorite AU, that I'm the only one has read. You guys need to read this after. It is called Dying for You Again and Again by AvoidingAverage. And, okay, bear with me. There's this movie on Netflix called The Old Guard. And it's about a group of people in the world today who have lived for thousands of years. And the way that they can do that is, or they're also warriors, so they're constantly fighting for things that they want to fight for, good causes and such. And they always die, but they always come back to life. And it is quite a good film. It has Charlize Theron in it. It has a gay ship, or a canon gay relationship in it, that have been together for thousands of years, and it's incredibly sweet. And a lot of diversity and kick-ass female characters and all that jazz. Go ahead and watch it. If you've seen it, then you'll love this fic, because it is a Draskier Old Guard AU, where it's still set in kind of the Witcher era, like timeline. It's still set in that world. It's not necessarily modern. So Jaskier has been part of this Old Guard, part of this group, for thousands of years. And then the thing about that group is that eventually, they don't know why, you get hit, stabbed, you get hurt somehow, and then you do die from that one time. So you never know 100% they're going to wake back up. And one of the people in the movie dies, so then another person becomes immortal, and they're now part of the group. And that's just how that system works. There's only like a tight 5 or a tight 6. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's 5 people. So or it could be 6. I think it is actually 6. Anyway, sorry. In this fic, somebody dies in the group, and now Geralt is the person that is now part of the group. He dies, and then he comes back, and he realizes eventually that he's just coming back after he dies. And it's not just because he's a Witcher, and he like finds this group of people, and they are kind of able to communicate with their dreams. It's really interesting. It's a really good fic. I would highly recommend it. I think it's the best AU that I have read of any Witcher fic, but then again, I haven't read a whole lot of AU, so take that for that what you will. But yeah, really good. Go ahead and read it. I love that fic so much. And you guys need to read it too and actually watch the movie. Seriously.
Okay.
We just have one left.
Yeah, and this one is, I couldn't resist it. So, I have to be upfront first. This isn't finished yet. It is, however, worth reading multiple times, even unfinished. It's Build Me Up Buttercup by Pukner, and it is the funniest thing. So, spoilers a little bit for season 1, because it bounces off the end of season 1. The end of season 1 of the show, Geralt goes to get Sherrell, who's being hunted by the evil fantasy Nazis who are called Nilfgaard, and they are running away to try and find somewhere safe. And they pick up Yennefer along the way at some point. At least that's the assumption at the end of season 1 that they're going to do. And Jaskier, who has become separated from Geralt because they had a bad parting, is in Oxenfurt, in this fic at least. So, what the fic starts as they are running and they get caught. And Geralt nobly sacrifices himself to get captured by Nilfgaard and sends Yennefer and Ciri away to find somewhere safe. And he sends them to Oxenfurt because he's hoping Jaskier will help them. Well, Jaskier will help them, but his solution is that the only way they're really going to get asylum in Oxenfurt, because it is its kind of own free liberal city, and is if he, a professor, claims them as family. So he declares that Yennefer is his wife, and Ciri is his darling child. And he has documents forged to that effect. Now, this is funny, partly because Jaskier and Yennefer in the show, at the end of the first season, were not really friends. And 2, in this version, Jaskier is trans. And he has declared to all and sundry that no, Ciri is definitely his biological child.
What?
And so yes, this sets the tone for the rest of the fic, because also the person who's forging his documents is the person who originally forged his identity and now regularly reforges it so that him and his group of friends are all somehow related, even though they're not really related. This is the tone of the thing. So it's Jaskier and all of his absolutely crazy friends, most of which are wildly gay or queer in some flavor. And Yennefer, who has no powers at this point and really no idea what's going on with the Oxenford at all, is stuck playing parents to Ciri while Geralt is captured. Geralt, meanwhile, is captured, and he ends up running into a bunch of sorcerer apprentices who are exactly the same flavor of crazy as everything that's happening in Oxenford, which is also really, really funny. Every situation that happens is funny, but it also manages to boil down and get really poignant. It talks about like cycles of trauma and identity and like healing and going forward. It's really well written. It's so very, very worth rereading. It's got wonderful OCs. So it's unfinished, but please, please go read it.
That is it. We did a kind of a fandom exchange today.
A fandom ramble, if you will.
You know,
a fandom maundering.
I have always found that our fandom exchanges really truly exemplify the piece of media that we're talking about, and if this was rambly, then the show is definitely rambly. The whole media is
The everything
Yeah.
of Witcherdom is rambly. Much like the
Rambly
path
and complex.
we wander.
Yeah. Not all who wander are lost, though. Like everybody's saying.
That's a different fandom.
Different fandom.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I think that, though, we are done. Thank you again, Misssampo, for coming on.
Oh, thank you for letting me back on. I don't know why you keep letting it happen, but I'm not gonna look a gift. I'm not gonna look a gift fish in the mouth.
It is a carte blanche invitation. Don't worry about it. Whenever you want to come on over. It's super fun to have you on with us.
It's delightful to be here. Like literally, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're done.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see y'all next week on
Fangirls Anonymous. Bye.